So I am finishing off the ends here for this weaving. You can see this is the yardage that I cut it away from. This here is a header, so I can gently pull that out. That's a fabric that I use repetitively over and over. And we're looking at the warp here. So I've woven this purple weft with a little bit of scrap yarn in here. So there's various colors going through horizontally as I wove left and right. And what I'm doing here is doing the finishing. So I'm taking groups of 2, and we have 3 sets of them for this finishing technique. We have 1 and 2, which are already secured, and we're going to keep moving along and gathering another group of 2 as we go. So I'm going to take the second and third part and take that first one and take this, I pass it underneath. From my view, it makes a number 4. And I take that end and I pass it through. So I'm going to continue moving down the length here until I get to the end. And I've done it here on the other side already. That's complete. And you'll see that and I want to pull it tight, you'll see that the yarns sort of go a little bit at an angle. If I get it wet, they'll probably hang a little bit more straight down, but at the moment they're both sort of shifting downwards. So again, 1, 2, I'm looking for my next set of 2 here, and you have to be real specific. You don't want to gather the wrong ones. You want them in the order that they came. So if you're unsure, you just want to kind of pull at each one. So that, see, I had this one on the left, but actually this comes afterwards. So let's do that again. And again, these as well, you can kind of pull at them and see this is the one that actually came formerly. So let's pass that underneath and loop it through. I want to pull it tight. I want to make this tight. You'll see this is puckering a little bit. Every once in a while I go back out and stretch it. So let's continue on here. Making sure I get the right next 2 in my order of things, as well as keeping these in order. And once you get moving, now I have these weights that I use for machine knitting here, so I'm going to put them a little bit more at the area where I'm working. You see I just keep these in hand. And go for my next one. And this just creates a nice clean edge. You'll see they hang like very straight. Again, they're at an angle now, and once it was wetted, they could hang more directionally, like vertically. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this piece. I just popped this off the loom because I had a loom that I was loaning someone and wanted to get this yardage off. But this creates a really interesting little thing for me to play with. I was kind of thinking maybe like a small bag if it was folded over. Keep the fringe, not keep the fringe, I don't know. Another way this could be finished, of course, would be with a sewing machine. I'm going to pull this out, so I keep giving ease right in there as it puckers up from the tension of pulling it. So yeah, you could take this to a sewing machine. If you have a serger, great, that works quite well. But you're going to lose all this media. So you know, I deal a lot with waste and scraps, and I want to kind of use as much of what I have as possible. I don't want to send it to landfill or just throw it in a bag somewhere and not be able to use it. So, you know, as much as I can use something, I really try to use all of it. And you'll see in the actual yardage here, these various stripes are hand-tied scrap yarns that I feed into the yardage when I weave. So again, we're using sets of 3. I have 2 in a hand in my left hand, 1 in the right. Then I pass the 2 to the right. I pass that first one underneath, create a number 4, pass the tail through, hold on to these 2 on the right, and pull tightly. The material will pucker, and that is good. It's like tightening up, and then you can continue to ease it back out. So again, I pick up all in my hands and keep going. This is a nice quiet process, but you have to kind of sit down and do it, and weights are really important. I'll pull the ease out there. So yeah, this is a great finishing technique. You can do this multiple passes, multiple times, back and forth. You could do it on this side and then flip it to the other side. In order for these to go sort of this same direction, if I decide to, they just naturally fall this way. If I decide to kind of use it that way, I did do the knotting on this side, and there's a very slight little ridge, and same, now the ridge is on this side. So they're sort of transposed. They're not on the same side, and that's fine. So yeah, if you do multiple passes of this, you'll get this really beautiful detail. It looks like a very small braid. It's very pretty. It's a little chevron, a raised chevron that comes right along the edge here. And then pulling, I often pull with that one that is encircling quite tight. And that's where it cinches up here too, because it's really like diving into the fabric. You'll see right here, it's coming away a little bit. That's normal. You just want to keep the fabric still. The weights, of course, help with this, like not shuffling around or moving it, keeping it on the table until it is complete. So it's really good to sit down all at once for a project like this and just get it done, or at least have it undisturbed. I have started again after starting it last night. So it's fresh morning. I'm sitting back at it and getting this completed. And again, pulling nice and tight, separating these back out, and then gathering my new media to incorporate in here. And you'll see at this end, like the weft is like getting shorter and shorter. It's down in the last shot that went across here. That is not such a big deal. We can gently stretch it out and give it a little more ease. Now you can see it's like a lot more generous there at the edge. And when you get to the edge, I don't know if I need to show you the entire length of me doing this, but when you get to the edge, you'll just keep binding off like this, keep closing everything until there just are no more strings. And then that is a completed, nice finished edge. And again, if you wanted to do that over, you could just start back at the other end and work your way again. And creating like multiple ridges. That'll of course make it like, if it's more of a functional piece. Oh, I might have gotten something a little confused here. There's a stress. I got out of order, so you can see that. That's actually good to see that. It's out of order. Not the end of the world. I could easily undo that actually, or I could keep going. I'll do this for the sake of showing you. It's not that imperative that I redo it, but this is a moment to kind of check out how this works. So I always say, like, when something like that happens, it's like, oh, good, I get to show someone when something's a little bit out of sorts. So there's all of the ends. And I have to ascertain, like, what were the last two knotted and what is the one going around. So something still looks a little funky. I'm gonna just open up one more of these. Yeah, I can see that right here, something's over top, something's underneath. So I'm gonna open that last one. See, look, there was just one around. All right, so that was the issue. So here, these are the next two in order, I believe. Let's just double check. Yes, I can sort of pull on them and see them move in the warp and just visually really be able to see what's happening there. All right, so these two are looped. We'll go back to this stage. And yeah, you just gotta get to a spot where you can really see what you did and what's going on there. So apparently I just put one around instead of the grouping of two. And of course, these two can get mixed up too. I just separated them out. And when you're going towards picking the new one, there's gonna be, because I did plain weave, it's gonna be systematic depending on what structure you did. But for me, right now in this plain weave, one's on top and one's on the bottom. So if I were to pick two that are visibly on the bottom, that's like a quick little red flag for me to say, like, oh wait, what am I doing there? Is that correct? Yeah, there's often like little stops like this that kind of like can help you check it. So if you kind of just articulate what those are when you set out and you start with your project, it will help you. Yeah, so hopefully that was informative and helpful. This is the method, one working and knotting and wrapping around and securing the other two, one of which is already semi-secured, and gathering in that new one and looping that tail through. So hopefully that was informational, helpful, and will help you set out to finish your next weaving. All right, thanks for joining in.